The Cleveland Browns, fresh off a 25-point comeback win over the Tennessee Titans, head home this week to face division rival Pittsburgh. The Browns are favored by 1.5 on BETDAQ. 47.5 is the total in this game. You recall these teams met back in Week 1 in Pittsburgh. Steelers coming away with a 30-27 win. They did not cover, though. They were 7-point favorites. Back then, a month ago, everybody thought the Steelers were going to be much better than the Browns this season. It's not that people thought the Steelers were going to be Super Bowl contenders. It's just that nobody had any faith in Cleveland after what we saw out of this team both last season and in the preseason. You recall in Cleveland's 4 preseason games, they just could not do anything, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Now that's changed. They've been pretty good on offense this season. Browns currently rank 11th in points scored, 25.8 points per game, 9th in total offense. And this Pittsburgh defense, I don't believe, is quite as good as the numbers would indicate. As a matter of fact, I think you could say that for really the Steelers in general. You look at the Steelers, they're 3-2. They rank 4th in total offense and 9th in total defense. So they appear to be a good team from the outside looking in if you're just looking at the numbers. But if you've seen them play, they just don't pass the eye test, I guess. They've really only been impressive in one of their games, the Week 3 win over Carolina. Even last week, a 17-9 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, who might be the worst team in the NFL. The Steelers were never able to get it going on offense against the Jaguars defense that was allowing 38 points per game. And even though they did hold the Jags to just 9 points, the Jags were able to move the ball some in that game. And if it hadn't been for a pick 6 by Blake Bortles in the fourth quarter, who knows how that game would have turned out. So I didn't think that was a very impressive performance from the Steelers. And the week before, you remember, they lost to Tampa, who had been winless. They've also been blown out by Baltimore this season. Really, as a whole, the Steelers just haven't looked that good. The Browns, on the other hand, have passed the eye test, even though statistically they haven't been good. You look at Cleveland by the numbers, 31st in total defense right now, 24th in points allowed, allowing 26.2 points per game. That is not good. This Browns defense certainly has underperformed this season. They should be better than what they are. You look at their personnel, I do expect them to improve. Not sure that's going to happen this week. As we said, Pittsburgh 4th in total offense. The Pittsburgh defense, I don't believe, is quite as good as the numbers would indicate. You look at their schedule, they faced offenses like Carolina, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville. I think that's helped pad the defensive stats a bit. But I do think this Pittsburgh offense is strong. I think they'll have a lot of success moving the ball against Cleveland here on Sunday. But I think Brian Hoyer and the Cleveland offense, they should have some success as well. Now, the sort of unsung hero of the Cleveland offense is that offensive line. People talk a lot about Brian Hoyer. Of course, he's been running back by committee in Cleveland. The wide receiving corps has gotten the job done even without Josh Gordon. But it really has been the offensive line that has steered the ship in Cleveland, one of the league's best units. And as we said, Pittsburgh has not been as good on defense as the numbers would indicate. Their schedules help sort of prop those numbers up a bit. So, listen, I think Cleveland is going to continue to have success on offense in this game. We mentioned they're averaging nearly 26 points per game this season. And I actually think the Browns are going to beat Pittsburgh. I know historically the Steelers have had a lot of success in this rivalry. And as we mentioned, they did pull out a 3-point win in Week 1. But I like where the Browns are at right now after coming from 28-3 down last week in Tennessee. That was the largest road comeback in the history of the NFL. Now coming home to face a division rival that might not be quite as good as the numbers would indicate. So I think this is a good spot for a Cleveland play here. Browns -1.5, my recommendation.